And good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Signposts Live. Good to see you all here once again for this Thursday. So tomorrow I will be doing the episode of New Earth TV Live. So we'll be getting an Adronis presentation coming through with that particular live as well too. And we're also going to be taking Q&A and distance healing tomorrow for New Earth TV Live. Today we're going to be looking a little bit more into a particular meditation, kind of like the ones I've done similarly, involving the Earth's grid, the matrix, right? And imbuing, again, another wholesome intention relating to the protection and preservation of the world's forests. So we're going to be looking into that here very shortly. Then we're going to be getting into Q&A as well, too. But of course, before we go ahead and get to that, we're going to start off with some announcements. And so right now I have the promo code FALL25, okay, capital letters, FALL 25, and get 25% off of your order when you go on to etherics.co. It is valid until the end of day of September 17th. We have a brand new product that came in as well too, which I'm wearing right now. This is the Organite Source Necklace. This basically contains the Source Center Vibration. It also has its own Organite Life Force, and of course it also contains the Crop Circle Source Energy. So again, this is a rock crystal that was picked up from the Crop Circle when I was visiting the UK. And my girlfriend Brianne was able to pick these up, and this was laying right around the area of the Crop Circle. So this energy that contains the Crop Circle energy has been infused into this. Okay, so it's also, again, the transcendental codes that are within the Organite is also radiating the Organite life force energy. And of course, it is also radiating the source center vibration energy as well too. So that is available right now. Again, it just came in the other day, and I'm enjoying wearing this. It's much more potent, much more stronger than previous necklaces that I've had. So it feels really, really good. It's very similar to the Organite pyramid that we have right here as well too. We have the sticker on the bottom, which represents the transcendental codes, which is giving this the BG3, or the source center vibration. If you guys want to see a test of exactly how the source center vibration can be detected with an object, well, this is exactly what I'm teaching in the Etherics Academy right now. And basically we have a certain pendulum here, which is known as the universal pendulum. In this case, it is a 16-disc pendulum. In biogeometry, they refer to this as the BG16, which does not require any particular form of calibration. And all you're really doing is you're not putting any thought into this, you're not putting any analysis into this, you're not creating any visualization or thought form pertaining to this pendulum. You're just simply letting the pendulum do what it's meant to do. So again, as I just put the intention of placing my fingers on this particular pendulum, on this particular pendant, I should say, the Organite necklace, and I just start bringing the momentum forward, which is what is known as search mode. I just let the pendulum start working on its own. And as you can see here, it is moving in a clockwise direction, which confirms, because of the calibration, because of the shape geometry of this particular pendulum, it is able to detect source energy. And as I'm putting my two fingers right here on the Organite necklace, we can see again that it has the source center vibration radiating through it, causing the pendulum to respond in this way. Same thing as if I'm holding the Organite pyramid here with, again, the transcendental codes, and just being aware of the pyramid right now. And the source center vibration is being detected by the BG16, the 16-disc universal pendulum. So this is basically what all Etherics technology has. Here's my thermos right here with the Etherics code, okay, or the Etherics logo, I should say. And I'm just going to put my middle finger and my ring finger there, and I'm going to do the same thing, okay? So with my intention just on the symbol itself, there you go, right? There is the source center vibration radiating through the Etherics logo that is powering up this cup, that is putting every form of liquid that you're putting into this cup is getting energized with the source center vibration. Also contains transcendental codes that also help in transmuting any particular type of beverage, whether it's a tea, whether it's a coffee, whether it's water, even if it's alcohol. In that way, you're getting the source center vibration out of it. Okay, so all of these products that you see here, with the exception of the pendulum, are available on etherics.co. So again, you can go to etherics.co. Remember the promo code FALL25, get 25% off your order, and this is valid to the end of day, or just before midnight Pacific time of September 17th. And again, you can also follow us on Facebook and on Instagram as well too, and our YouTube channel. I will be doing a special Etherics live stream this coming Sunday. So this Sunday, Etherics live stream will be coming up. So that's going to be really exciting as well too. And of course, we have the Etherics Academy. We're getting more and more students. This is wonderful to see. We still have space. Okay, so we still have another 4 days, or less than 4 days, before the enrollment period ends for the Etherics Academy. Like I said, if you're curious about this type of pendulum, or if you're curious about this type of pendulum, and you want to learn more about working with your own life force energy, if you want to learn how to detect life force energy, if you want to learn how to quickly and easily heal your body from the top down, if you want to learn how to heal your environment, if you want to learn how to do powerful healing on others, if you want to learn how to bring that spirit power directly into yourself, if you want to learn about Kundalini activation, if you want to learn how to open, activate, and expand your chakras, looking at so many other different forms of wonderful techniques that go back into ancient times that are now being modernized, then the Etherics Academy is perfect for you. So again, you can check that out, ethericsacademy.com. Enrollment is still happening until the end of day of September 18th. So go ahead and check that out as well. And of course, private sessions, distance healing sessions, and 3-question private sessions by email are available on my website, newearthteachings.com. You can talk to Adronas through either 1-to-1 private sessions or 3-question email sessions as well. And of course, with the distance healing sessions, you can receive up to 3 healing areas that can be worked on through distance healing. So again, you can check that out. It is on newearthteachings.com. And finally, everything on the New Earth Teachings YouTube channel here is backed up onto our Odyssey channel. The link is odyssey.com/@newearthteachings. You can also find that in the video description. Okay. And I have one more announcement. Janine is going to be coming back. Okay. So I'm going to be doing an interview again with Janine, Tarot by Janine. It is going to be on October 6th. So just mark that date down on your calendar. It is going to be for Friday, October 6th at 11 a.m. Pacific. Okay. So New Earth TV Live on that week will be happening on the Sunday. So I'll be talking to Janine again for another live interactive interview where you guys can ask her questions, just as the interviews from before have taken place. So she is coming back, happy to come back and perform some more readings for many of you. Okay, so I'll keep you guys more updated as the time gets closer to that time. But again, Friday, October 6th will be the next New Earth TV interview with Tarot by Janine. So she's coming back. It's going to be awesome. Haven't talked to her in a while, so we'll be talking about how she's been doing and looking into current events with her. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started today with the Signposts Live. So as I was talking about, first and foremost, we're going to start off with a meditation. Just as if you guys were tuning into previous episodes, you know that I was basically doing one for the water, right, for the oceans of the earth, and I was doing another one for the air. And now I'm doing another one here today for the forests. This was actually something that was suggested to me by a subscriber. Subscriber saying, well, Brad, do you think you could do one with the forests, for the trees in that way? Just being able to protect the nature and preserve the nature of this planet so that it's not being cut down, so that it's not trying to, so there's not so much laying of waste with the beautiful nature here that is on the planet. I said that's a very good idea, and so it's kind of like we're just working with the elements here. We've been working with water, we've been working with air, and now we're going to be working with the earth, specifically working together with Mother Nature. So again, you guys can join in because you are all part of making this happen, right? This is all about going back into your intentions. Like I said, I'm creating that chi ball, and each of you are putting that intention through your own sphere, and you're putting it directly into mine, and then I send it off, charging it with the source center vibration, putting it directly into the grid. And this is also what's known as a wholesome intention, or a wholesome manifestation, as Adronas was talking about last week. pertaining to the nature of how your manifestations become wholesome. And this is how it moves up much more into the higher echelons of the grid and moving much more into a divine sovereign union consciousness, which basically offers that very preservation and protection of the Earth's forests, of the Earth's trees, of the Earth's nature altogether. Okay, so basically once we get this going, once we start putting in the protection and preservation, this will help to protect it from all fallacies, from all agendas, from all intentions to harm, right? And even if there is an intention to harm, then again, that person or that group that is causing that harm is basically going to get a karmic rebound, just as I've talked about when we're working with the oceans and working with the air. So it's really no more different today with what we're doing than what we have done the previous 2 times. Okay, so we're going to do that now. So what I want you to do right now is just get yourself nice and comfortable, making sure the spine is nice and straight. We can go ahead and close our eyes. And we're just going to take some heart rate variability breathing first. We're going to do 7 rounds of that. And then we'll come in and start working with the intention work to again preserve and protect the Earth's forests. Okay? So, spine nice and straight. Deep breath in through the nose. 1, 2, 3, 4. And out through the nose. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And in. 2, 3, 4. And out. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And relax. And now I'm going to be creating the energy ball that will be the container for all of your intentions as well as my own. So just creating energy ball just like this. And this is all you're doing as well too. It's just putting your hands together, seeing a ball form, invisible ball forming in between the palms. Okay. So doing that now. And again, our intention is just to be aware. Like I said, it doesn't have to come through visualization or anything of that nature. It's not coming through a thought form. It's just being aware of the forests of the earth, right? It's just being aware that when you tune into the earth, you can feel the energy of the forests. You can feel the energy of the trees. You can feel the energies of the grass. You can feel the energies of the mountains. You can feel the energies of the land. And that's all I want you to do. Again, when you're taking the Etherics Academy, you're going to learn a lot more about how to tune into vibration. And that's what you're doing here, is you're tuning into the vibration of the land. Which means, firstly, just be familiar with being aware of when you have been in forests. When you've walked through a forest, not trying to visualize it, but just being aware of the presence of the forest. Just being aware of the presence of the forest. And I want you to expand that. I want you to feel that vibration expanding as you feel upon the entire earth every single forest that is here. So you're just expanding, not really the magnitude, but you're expanding the vibration. That if I've been in this particular forest, well then I'll think of 100 forests, thousands of forests, and I will feel that vibration. And when you're immersed in that vibration, oh my goodness, is it blissful. Because I can feel that right now. Just feeling the bliss of the thousands of forests, or basically we could just say the one forest that is here upon the planet, the one organism that represents the forest, but you're tuning into its massive vibration. Right? You're tuning into the massive vibration of the one forest organism. I want you just to feel that now. Don't try to think about it. Don't try to visualize it. Just be with it. vibrationally. I'm giving you guys kind of a sneak preview of what I'm teaching my students here in the academy, right? Is just working with the vibration of that which you want to tune into. Not visualizing, not creating a thought form, nothing of that nature. Just going right into the vibration of it. Okay? And with the energy ball contained within the hand, what our intention is, now that we have stepped into that vibration of the massive forest, is the protection and the preservation of all forests. Is the preservation and protection of lands, the preservation and protection of mountains, the preservation and protection of everything that represents these divine nature oases. Everything that represents the preciousness, the purity, the divine potency of the forests of the planet. That we are preserving this, that we are protecting this. And you're just feeling that vibration coming through you. I want you to feel that vibration of the love to protect, of the love to preserve, of the love to care, of the love to spread your compassion. Right? I want you to know what that feels like. Right? I'm basically asking you something that is quite rare, I know. But the vibration in there exists. Right? Yes, it comes to the heart, but not really at the same time. The heart is the epicenter, but when you are loving, it's coming through the wholeness of you. When we start saying, oh, it comes to the heart this and it comes to the heart that, to a degree that is true, but again, you're still compartmentalizing everything. Don't compartmentalize. Just know that this vibration radiates through the wholeness of you. The wholeness of you is radiating that vibration of love to care, of love to protect, of love to preserve, of love to spread your compassion. Okay? And that's what we're blanketing along the entire vibration here of the forests of the world. The love to protect, the love to preserve, the love to share our compassion. And that we're just blanketing this intention across all of the forests of the world, across all of the lands of the world, across the great mountain ranges of the world, everything representing the earth, through her land, through her forests, being protected and being preserved. And that is simply our intention. That there will be no harm upon our intention. Our intention is pure. Our intention is wholesome. And with that strong magnetism that comes through that wholesome intention, this is what is going to reverberate a strong protection, a strong preservation to the land, to the nature of the world. So I want you just to form that intention right now, as I've already formed mine, and it is inside the energy ball held in between my hands right now. And once you have that intention, I just want you to see me here, holding the ball just directly in front of you here. And I want you to deposit your own intention ball directly into the ball that you see me holding right here. Okay, and you're just putting it in, you're depositing it in the ball. Okay, I can start to feel the ball getting heavy, so I can feel you guys putting in there. That's great. Okay, we're just going to take another few more moments just to let everybody deposit that in. So again, a reminder that whether you're watching this live or whether you're watching this on recording, it doesn't matter. Okay? If you're watching this back on recording, you can do the same thing right now because everything is in this moment. So if you're watching this on recording, deposit your intention in the ball too. This all transcends time. This all transcends continuity. Okay, now we're going to send that ball up as we firstly start to bring forward the source center vibration, charging that energy ball before sending it off into the grid matrix. Divine forces of God, walk directly into this ball of energy, shrouding it and saturating it with the source center vibration, the light of God, radiating it with the pure divine union energy, so that it returns into the grid in its highest harmony, in its highest light, in the highest decree that it can be given, to ensure confirmation of the protection, preservation, and guardianship of the forests, of the lands, of the mountain ranges, of everything that represents the pristine lands of the earth and the nature that has grown through it, within it, and as it. Apply. Now just sending it up to the ethers, knowing that it is done. Okay? Deep breath in, deep breath out. Okay, great. And just as I did last time with looking into the air intention, we'll be doing the same thing here with the forests, working with the tarot, and we'll see exactly how our work has been done. Right? So the exercise that we just performed, how is the result now of the protection and preservation of the Earth's forests? Okay? How was our success in being able to bring this about? Okay, so let's check that out. Okay, so it's a good thing that we are doing this, because it feels like in the near future they still do want to harm the forests. They still do want to harm a lot of the nature of the earth as well too. But it's also showing me that there's protection. It's also showing me that there's going to be balance, that there's going to be, again, kind of counter forces relating to the force of harm, because they are planning to do this, right? They are planning to explode nature. They are planning to cut down nature. They are planning to do all of this. And like I said, even if they try to do it, there is a counterforce that comes in that is much more active when anyone is trying to do that to harm the earth. Right? So basically what we got firstly with the outcome is the Knight of Cups. Okay? So with the Knight of Cups, this shows our emotional intention. This shows our willpower. This shows our energy, that it is being brought forward into action. Okay? So we're moving this much more higher level of working together with the earth, helping to protect and preserve the forests. Again, just letting you know, if there's people that are trying to harm, there's going to be part of that karmic rebound that is going to be much more increased and a lot more accelerated in that way. So this represents victory. This represents a very big, powerful change, right? If we're looking at hope, if we're looking at fear, where we're seeing victory here. So this is representing something very potent, very powerful. And it is still, again, flowing through the nature of time, as that is where we are residing here in the physical plane. And through time, we will start to see this become much more potent, right? So again, this shows that there is indeed a protection. There is a new, I wouldn't say thought, but it's the intention altogether that will translate into thought to ensure the protection and preservation of the forests, right? I mean, look exactly what's happened with Maui. Look exactly what's happened with a lot of lands that have been caught up in these directed energy weapon agendas, where lands have burned, where trees have burned, where nature has been scorched. They're planning to do more of this, right? But if they attempt to do more of this, there's going to be a lot more of a quicker rebound upon them. So this again is showing they're going to try and do it. They're going to try and harm nature some more. They're going to try and light some more fires. They're going to try and create more agendas that are trying to create these smart cities and other particular forms of ridiculous technologies and ridiculous agendas that they're putting in. However, this is also accompanying it. But wherever there's harm coming together, there's going to be protection, right? And this is exactly when we're looking at the Queen of Wands here, representing that action, representing that fire, also representing the nature of consequences. And there's that balancing that's taking place, right? That emotional energy, the King of Cups. Okay, for pulling another card here. All right, this is a nice one too. This goes along with it. So we have the Ace of Pentacles, which means Earth is being protected. Earth is being preserved. Earth is under guardianship with this highest loving energy being brought forward through source vibration, deposited directly into the grid matrix, helping to preserve and to protect. Like I said, sometimes these things need to happen where nature is harmed so that it calls us into action quicker, so that we can respond quicker, so that we can say no more. And however we decide to do that through thought action, it will be done and it will be supported, because now you're looking at something that is moving much more into the higher grid, that is preserved, that is protected, that is aligned to divinity, union, and sovereignty. And you are working together with a wholesome cause when you respond, when you see something like nature being injured. Right? So again, that is the entire purpose that we're putting behind this intention today. Great, so thank you everybody for joining me for that. We're working with the preservation and protection of the world's forests. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and move on into Q&A. Right? So like I said, I don't have a particular topic today. We're going to kind of just look into the Q&A to see what's on everybody's mind. And like I said, if you want to leave a question here in the chat, if you want to leave a donation as well too, that will put your question first in line, or again, I would say in priority sequence. And if there isn't, then I just keep going through the chat and see what we have here. All right, so I'm seeing the first question here from Octurus Light. Octurus Light says, "Hi Brad, 2 months ago, Adronis mentioned an upcoming Earth shakeup by summer's end that will impact governments and financials. Can you or Adronis update us regarding that? Greatly appreciate your time." Okay, certainly, no problem. So I'll take a moment to bring Adronis in, and as he comes through, he'll give a brief introduction, and then he'll elaborate further on Octurus Light's question here in regards to financial changes, government changes that was meant to happen around the summer. But as I've always talked about, is that whenever you hear that there is a possibility of momentum coming around a particular time, always look at that particular time as a grain of salt. It holds a momentum for when possibly that could happen. The event is still potent. The event is still strong. It may try to come through that window, but there's not enough support for it to come back through that window, so it'll be in the ethers. When a window is opening itself large enough, it will start to move itself through and propagate as manifestation into the world. Right? So anytime that, even if I share timestamps, Adronis shares timestamps, we have to remember, take that with a grain of salt. It's a possibility. There's a big window opening up, but at the same time, that window can shrink. Right? But the event is still pristine. Okay, so we'll talk about that here through Adronis as it comes through, talking a little bit more about impact, government, and the financial systems. Okay, one moment. Terra Soul Star CDS We are here at this time. We bid you greetings and thank you very much for the opportunity of this interaction today. I am Adronis of Sirius, sending love, appreciation, and gratitude to all who are tuning in to this broadcast being brought forward through your internet collective consciousness. What we'd like all of you to do at this time is simply allow yourselves to get relaxed, get comfortable, and tune in to the vibrations of Sirius so that you may synchronize, harmonize, and align to all of the information that we have to share. Also understand that all that we shall provide to you today is simply that of our perspective, our point of view. For all knowledge, all information, all creation itself resides within your very hearts, beings, and souls. It is for you to understand that relating to the financial power, as it is termed, upon your planet, has already been converged to the east. This has already happened, and this has already happened quite prominently during the time of your early summer. It's already taken place. Now, again, you may not hear it through the grapevine. You may not hear it through the mainstream media, pertaining to the idea that really the wealth of your planet has already been successfully transferred to the east, which means, as you would say, that the Eastern world is pretty much already holding all of the financial power on the planet, and the ball is already in their court. It's already there. It's already done. It's already happened. But again, what you're looking at here is the mainstream approach, trying to cover everything up, trying to make it feel like the US dollar still represents a prominence upon the planet. Really, it doesn't. It's moving much more into the nature of the Eastern prominence relating to financial authority. The financial authority has already shifted. This has happened quite prominently around your June month, and starting to move much more prominently into your July, into your August, into your September. It's already happened, really. Now, you may not have gotten wind of that. You may not have gotten word about that. But the Western world altogether is really just being held up through a flag of illusion, through a veil of deception. Everything pertaining to the financial, the monetary exchange systems are being much more prominently managed and governed through your Eastern world, not your West. That is exactly what has shaken up the entire political landscape. Now, when these things happen, there will of course be a coverage of it, a attempt to cover everything up, trying to bury it under the sands, because therefore the West doesn't want to make it feel like it has really no political, financial power left, and it will do everything to conceal that. So you're looking at something that represents a great concealment job, exactly as it would be shared. As we've also talked about, you may not have your mainstream media admit this. You will see again covering up of this. You will see concealment of this. You will see it all being attempted to be swept under the rug to make it feel like the Western world still holds on to the financial power when in fact it does not. And it's becoming a lot more evident as the allied nations, particularly in the East, are already starting to admit that they really hold the financial authority of the entire planet right now. So again, this is just something that is starting to move itself up much more into a startling state of awareness. That when you actually start to look past the mainstream umbrella and you bore a hole through it and you start to look at much more in regards to what's being shared through the not so popular channels, as it were, you're starting to see this unfold. It is true that fundamentally there is what you would term as the BRICS Union, and that they were attempting to introduce a coin. Now that represented a particular momentum of sorts, and even though it's being held back, that's not really what we're talking about. It's the idea in that sense that the shift relating to the authority pertaining to monetary exchange on your planet has already shifted to the East. The East basically runs the entire monetary system of the entire planet. This is exactly what's being said. This is exactly what's already caused a shakeup, but as we stated, they like to put the blankets over things. They like to make it feel like this is not happening and that the West still has the power pertaining to its monetary funds, and it does not. It's already taken place. It's already happened. It's already transpired. So, yes, it has already come to pass as it needs to. Now, some of you may be asking, well, when in the mainstream media is this actually going to be admitted? Probably not for quite some time. Because the nature of the mainstream media is there to protect the interests of those that basically, as it were, as you say, sign their paychecks. So they will do everything to hold up into the corrupt initiative for as long as it remains. And it could still be a couple of years for that to remain. We do not really have a timestamp for you because it is fundamentally true in regards to what Brad said, is that there are windows of opportunity here. Some can grow and say, all right, well, the window right now is big. A short amount of time passes and it starts to shrink. It just all depends upon the nature of momentum here. But in actuality, the finances of your entire planet is already governed by the world of the East. All right? We thank you very much for your question. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Octurus Light, for your question. So let's go to some other questions here. FDY Malik says, hi Brad, could you check about the 15 smart cities? Look like it's happening. Well guys, that's exactly what they've been trying to do with Maui, right? It's exactly what they've been trying to do with Kelowna, exactly what they're trying to do with all of these places that they have basically set ablaze. They're trying to create these 15-minute cities. And do you guys know why they're trying to create it? Because there's a lot more denial of preventing these particular cities from happening. And in order for them to completely try to build it out, they need to kind of start from scratch. And this is why they're basically bulldozing with point source energy weapons these particular places on the planet that have their interests in mind, so that they can completely rebuild it with this particular smart technology, and so that everything there is basically falling under a particular type of COVID-like containment, and lockdown, right? So they realize they cannot really do that from city to city, right? They really cannot do that in regards to how the standard cities apply. What their big agenda has been was basically to lay waste to much of the major cities of the planet, so that they would basically just be a scorched ruin, like what you saw with Maui, like what you would see with Australia, like what you would see with California, because they've done that a lot with California in the past as well too. They're trying to create these smart cities by bulldozing through these laser weapons. Everything that represents what was still standing is now being swept away, so that they can rebuild and put these smart city platforms on it. So that's much more of a work in progress, you would say. They've certainly tried to do that through traditional means, but again, through bylaws, through the nature of, again, good-hearted people, through the nature of people who are actually much more conscientious, this has not been able to happen, counterforce activity. But this is exactly what they're trying to make happen. Maui, again, was basically the example of that, trying to lay to waste, having Oprah Winfrey buy hundreds of hectares of land, not being touched, all these big celebrities having their properties, none of them being touched in this way, right? Because they're exempt, because they represent an elitist status. And so they would basically start to sweep the path, start using directed energy weapons, and start laying waste to everything here upon the land, so that they can come in with their new technology and start building smart cities, right? And basically create all of these quarantine types of laws, lockdown types of laws, etc., right? Basically trying to create control city. They call them smart cities. There's nothing smart about them. If anything, they are lockdown cities, right? If anything, they are slave cities, not smart cities. So we need to take out the word smart, because there's nothing smart about this. And we basically put in the word slave, okay? And they're basically slave cities. And that's what they've been trying to do. Now, will they succeed? No, of course not. But they have to give you a blueprint. They have to give you an example of what they're trying to do. If they had their way, guys, we'd still be in lockdown right now. The entire planet would be, every single country would be in lockdown. No one would be able to travel right now. No one would be able to go outside without wearing a mask. Nobody would be able to leave the city, right? Because again, you have those 15-minute cities. But that's not what's happening, because they're not getting their way. This is all part of a greater disclosure, of a greater exposure that's taking place. These are the data dumps that are coming forward. We have to let them do this to show you the blueprint of what they're trying to do. And now that you are understanding the blueprint, because a lot of people are understanding their blueprint right now, as you understand the blueprint, now there's this giant red X that the people put over that blueprint, saying, forget it. There's no way we're going to cooperate with that. There's no way we're going to participate with that. What they're also planning to do with a smart city is basically just buy up everything, buy up land, buy up property, so that you would own nothing, right? Canada has been quite a blueprint country for this example, about trying to work through the World Economic Forum, right, to try and imbue these blueprints of thinking that you would own nothing and you will be happy by you owning nothing, okay? And that is the idea of these quote-unquote smart cities, right, where everything's owned by the government, you own nothing, and you're basically just a slave, right? And you basically have no form of gender, you have no form of identity, maybe except a serial number, and that's about it, right? It's the George Orwellian fear. But like I said, this is only meant to show itself as a blueprint, so that people are saying, oh my goodness, this stuff really is real. Well, there's no way I'm going to participate with this. And then there's that red X. That red X comes down, and like I said, all it really requires is just your thought, is your intention not to participate with this. That no, thank you, I'm not going to have this in my life. And you have thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions, hundreds of millions, billions of people on the planet all saying that. And that's exactly what's happening, okay? Everything pertaining to these smart cities, to these Agenda 2030, all of these Orwellian fears coming together were just meant to be shown in a blueprint status, to basically have a prototype, which would represent Maui, for example. Now that people are seeing, because you're seeing it all over social media, you're seeing how people are just constantly exposing everything in regards to Maui. No one actually thinks that this was a genuine disaster, right? Nobody thinks that, hardly anybody. And if it is, then I don't know what those people are thinking. But it's all part of a blueprint agenda allowed to be shown so that people can see exactly what this is all about, and they put that proverbial X through it and say, no, forget it, we're not going to do it, we're not going to buy into it, we're not going to sell our lands to these greedy investors, we're not going to buy into Oprah and her celebrity stooges that are basically trying to support this. It's all a lie, and people are seeing it. People are starting to become more and more aware of these smart cities. Now, people ask me the question and say, well, Brad, what does the tarot say about that? Well, we will look into the tarot, but I'm kind of warming you up to the premise at first, right? So, looking into the tarot pertaining to the smart cities, that it looks like it's happening. So I would say, will the smart cities come into fruition across the entire planet? Okay? The entire agenda of the smart cities, will they be coming into fruition upon the entire planet successfully? All right, let's see. All right, so okay. So basically, just as I've been saying, relating to where people themselves are now starting to get smarter, which means they're seeing through the lies of these smart cities, right? They're seeing through the lies of these agendas, which means love, compassion, intelligence, wisdom, the true smartness of humanity is actually what's overshadowing this. It is going to be a hopeful time, okay? It is going to be a time where people will see through all of this garbage that has been happening in the background. See, this is what really represents the smart city here, is the background. See, you have the heart against the heartbreak. And this is the two that really aspect themselves here in this reading. You have the love, you have the heart, you have the know-how, you have the discernment of the people that again are kind of pouring that pristine water over the corrupt, over the lies, over the mildew and mold of these despicable agendas that they're trying to convince people, oh no, come on guys, this is exactly what needs to be done, right? Oh, okay, it's a tragedy that these things happen, but we're going to rebuild, and we're going to make it something even more better, and we're going to put so much advanced technology and blah, 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 right? And they're trying to convince you that this is something that needs to happen. It's a tragedy that these natural events have taken place because of climate change, right? And they're trying to bullshit you every single step of the way, more and more. It's part of their psychological programming. But again, here we go with the protection card again, right? There's that protection card in the near future, okay? And so people are going to be much more on guard. There's going to be a lot more preparation for people saying, no, we're not going to take this. We are going to stand up. We are going to guard with what we choose to protect. And here's again another representation of a protection card. We have the Queen and the King of Wands as well too. So this is representing new thought, new action, new transformation, a new way of living, a new action being taken that is going to help to dissolve a lot of these things. So are they still going to try and talk about the smart cities? Yes. Are they still going to try and build up more prototypes of the smart cities? Yes. Are they going to fulfill the idea of putting smart cities all around the planet? No. Okay. So again, this is all part of what they're doing. It's kind of like what I've been saying here, is that they're trying to set a stage, and we got to give you a prototype exactly of what we're planning to do here, right? It's all part of their dark magic that they do, right? You have to show everybody what you're planning. You have to show everybody what you're doing when you're working with dark magic. That's the flaw with it, right? You have to show everybody what this is leading to in that way. And you kind of have to leave marks along the way and say, okay, well, here's the tidbits, here's the breadcrumbs about what we're planning to do here. And then with people who have those catchy eyes, right, who have that strong observation and discernment, will catch it. And then they share it with others, and then they share it with others, and then it becomes viral, right? So this is what's going to lead to the takedown of all these smart city plans that they have. So Are they planning it? Yes. Are they starting to roll the blueprints off of it? Yes. Are they starting to create prototypes with it? Yes. Is it ever going to get off the ground on a global scale? No. Okay. It's only allowed to be taken so far before the people all see it en masse and completely disintegrate it, right? Just completely level it to the ground. So that is the good news about all of this, right? Unfortunately, there are going to be some staged areas of the planet that are going to be hit with these particular agendas, these false flag agendas altogether, just so that all of us can see exactly what they're planning to do, because this is a type of disclosure. This is a type of data dump. And then you see exactly what they're doing. Is, oh my God, this is exactly what they were trying to do in the past, and all these things, right? If they can't work together with viruses, then they're going to use directed energy weapons to try and make their plans happen. Directed energy weapons isn't going to work. Well, then I'm going to go ahead and create a hoax alien invasion, and we're going to blame it on the aliens, and then we can create a war, and then through that war we can get more of an economy going, and through more of an economy going, we can start building more of these smart cities, and blah, blah, blah. And every time there's directed energy weapons that are being used, we can blame it on aliens, and blah, 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 blah. That's exactly how they think. Okay, so they couldn't do it with viruses to try and scare people online so that they could create their smart cities, so they couldn't do that. Now they're trying to use directed energy weapons and saying, oh my God, it's climate change, it's climate change, it's climate change. It's a firestorm, everybody. That'd be stupid. There is never anything in history that enables a firestorm to melt everything down through a focused concentration beam to which everything in Maui itself was melted down. That is through directed coherency. That is not through a firestorm. Okay, that's ridiculous. That's stupidity. Okay, that defies logic whatsoever. If you look exactly how everything was laid to waste in Maui, it all came through energy weapons. It all came through focal points. It all came through coherency, through source point weaponry. Cannot come any other way. That is direct focal point weaponry. Okay? But that's what they'll try to do. They'll try to make one excuse after another, and then they can only go so far. Their playbook only stretches so far. And about as far as it stretches would be the idea of the admittance of extraterrestrials, and about the admittance of a hoax alien invasion, and trying to bring aliens into this, and trying to bring space war into this. That's the highest that they can really go. After that, they're out of options within the playbook. You really can't go higher than the idea of extraterrestrial invasion and space wars. Right? Or Star Wars, right? In that way. So this is what they're planning on doing. And so they can't do it with viruses, so we'll do it with climate change. If we can't do it with climate change, we're going to do it with hoax alien invasion. If we can't do it with hoax alien invasion, we'll try and invent some sort of space war. And after that, we're done. That's the last page of their book. And then they're done after that. You can't really get any higher than that, right? They basically could talk about multidimensionality and all that stuff and trying to port the Earth into different dimensions, what they've been trying to do with CERN for quite some time. But that has also led to failure as well. That was one of their plans, but did not pan out as well too. See, they just always have these plans within a plan, within a plan, within a plan, but their plans can only go so far. Once they're out of options, they're caught with the tail between their legs. And like I said, you're just looking at all of these people just on the brink of death right now, just basically living off life support, where the plug is about to be unplugged. So that's what I can share in regards to that question. Thank you, FDY Malik. All right. Okay. Mary asks, hi Brad, have you visited the 9/11 Memorial in New York? I've never been to New York. I've been to LaGuardia Airport, but that's the closest I've ever been to New York. No, I have not been there. So, and she says it looks so dark cold. I don't blame you. I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it for a moment, right? But I've never been to New York. Maybe one day, we'll see. But other than LaGuardia Airport, no, that's as close to New York as I've been. That was just because I was transferring flights. Peace Gen Music says, is Finland going to be another Ukraine, as USA is already here in the garb of NATO? Okay. Well, there's been quite a few conversations we've had in the past relating to Finland in that way about are they going to be moving into another Ukraine? Well, guys, you have to first understand what Ukraine really is, because a lot of people are not seeing exactly what Ukraine stands for. Ukraine is basically being seen as the white dove pertaining to this whole situation, but they're not. Okay? And it's nothing against the people. It's nothing against the citizens of the country. They are certainly innocent. But again, what's living underneath their feet is absolutely putrid. What is living under their feet is the worst of the worst, right? You are talking about laboratories. You are talking about biolabs. You are talking about trafficking rings, child trafficking rings, sex trafficking rings. You are talking about everything that is horrific and putrid that has basically existed in the Ukraine for centuries. And that is basically what it is. It is the filth pot of the planet. And it's nothing to do with the citizens. It's nothing to do with the people that live there. But you have been living under a cesspool. You have been living under such dark cult rule for centuries. And that's exactly why it's being cleaned out, right? It has been cleaned out because there's all kinds of horrific tragedies taking place in the Ukraine for a very long time. But the MSM will never tell you that. They will try to make Ukraine feel like it is a white dove in that way, right? So basically trying to compare Finland to the Ukraine isn't appropriate, okay? It's not about that. It's not about trying to think that Finland is another Ukraine. It's not, right? Ukraine is the nest of the Khazarian mafia, okay? You cannot compare Finland to Ukraine, okay? Ukraine is their nest. That is where Khazaria started, okay? It did not start in Finland. It started in the Ukraine, what is now known as the Ukraine. Before that time, it was known as Khazaria, okay? And I've already talked about the history pertaining to Khazaria. I've talked about it last week, okay? Go into last week's episode. I talked about it quite extensively, about the nature of Khazaria and what it represents. I believe there was also a New Earth Insights that I did a while back as well too, where I did a bigger expose relating to the nature of the history of Khazaria, now known as the Ukraine. Okay, Finland has nothing to do with that. Okay, two completely different situations. All right, so that's really what I can share about it, with getting too political into it. But being into it, having it be another Ukraine, no, I would have to disagree with you with that. Okay, let's move on. Wait, I think I had another donation down the list here. Okay, it was from Starseed1111, but it was a retracted message. Okay, I decided to check on that. Let's see if there's a couple other donations down here. Janet, okay, Janet, did you leave a question? I think I just got your donation. Thank you for that. But I think I just got your donation. Oops, I didn't ask my question. Let's see if I can find Janet's question down here. Okay, here we go. Janet, I found your question. So Janet asks, question for Adronis, if possible. I stepped away. The sunlight sometimes seems yellow, then sometimes brilliant white. Is there a feathering of third and fourth density light coming in? Okay, it's a good question. So let's take a look at that as we look into sunlight, okay? So Adronis can cover that question here. Here we go. Thank you very much, Janet. As it pertains to your question relating to that of yellow sunlight or white sunlight altogether, it really depends in regards to where you're standing on the planet. Now again, you also have to look into the mixture of hues that would relate to the nature of environment as well too. It may also represent the nature of certain forms of pollutants, just in regards to, shall we say, the quality of the light that is coming together, that is not being bombarded by other obstructions pertaining to environmental phenomena that may appear in the nature of yellow light. What we would basically say is that the effect in regards to what you are receiving through the catalyst of the solar radiation that is therefore being integrated through the atmosphere would be white hues in nature. They may appear yellowish, and again, that is all because of the nature relating to any form of environmental complications, environmental obstructions that may be interfering with the hue itself. But if you are taking all of those away, everything in regards to the hue of the light from the sun, if we were basically looking at, for example, high noon, would be the example of white light. When you're looking at the time of sunrise, when you're looking at the time of sunset, it will start to move into that yellow, orange, and red band, based upon, again, the time of sunrise and the time of sunset. But if you are looking at high noon to midday, this will relate to the nature of it being a white light. Now, it does not have anything to do pertaining to the nature of third or fourth density. It does not really work that way. The hue in regards to the nature of the light itself is not what is the changeability in question. Changeability in question relates to the nature of vibrational density, moving from something more solid to something more lighter. Therefore, you're not looking at the hue to differentiate and distinguish between these two ideas. You're looking in that sense as a relationship pertaining to the malleability of mass. You are looking to the malleability of form. You are looking to the malleability of physicality. That is what represents the change pertaining to the nature of dimension. Something appears much more lighter, not according to the nature of the hue of the light that is impacting your planet through solar radiation, but through the nature of the integrity and quality and malleability representing all known mass, matter, form altogether. So again, just as we've talked about, relating to the nature of the dream plane, where you are able to see things change before your eyes, where the idea of physical matter does not feel so physical. It has a malleability, and it is much more responsive to the nature of thoughts. As we stated, your body is calibrated for third density. As it is calibrated for third density, it is not able to make the trip from one dimension to another dimension, from one density to another density. It's not possible. But again, what is happening is that for those of you who do want to transition from a third to fourth density plane, is again, it is like a snake shedding its skin. You will leave this body behind and a new body will be propagated in that particular effect. It all just depends upon the person. We cannot explain this generically to you. Some may in that sense feel that. They may wake up one morning and all of a sudden they realize that their old body died, but they were able to shed away the skin, so to speak, and were able to now appear into a new body. Technically, the body is not new. It is existing simultaneously, but it is much more of a lighter frequency. You have to let the old body die behind. Leave it behind. Because that's the nature of it. It's like a snake that is shedding its skin. It cannot take that old skin into such an experience representing dimensionality. Some of you, again, may be experiencing this. And again, for those of you who have already experienced this, you would not be hearing our words right now because you're still existing within this third density sphere. But we speak to the ones in that sense who move into a particular type of transmigration, vibrationally speaking, where they may already have a body set up into a higher dimension. And when they leave this body in the physical, they will, in that sense, inhabit that body into the dimension that we speak of. Many of you have what you term as stasis bodies. What that means is that many of you may be on board ARC ships. Now, again, we know we're going to get lots of questions from people and saying, oh, Jonas, do I have a body on an ARC ship? Oh, Jonas, do I have a body on an ARC ship? We would have to speak to you individually. It's not saying, oh, yes. We would have to talk to you face to face through this conduit. But it's the idea that some of you do have stasis bodies. And what that means is that when this physical life ends, you will move back into that particular propagated body. Because again, many of you will put yourselves into certain forms of technology that could be referred to as stasis pods or suspended animation. And therefore, once this life has concluded, you will incarnate back into that form that has been kept in suspended animation, keeping all of the memories relating to this lifetime intact so that you got out what you felt you needed to get out of pertaining to this lifetime, therefore reenacting yourself back into a reintegrated life that would be in that sense much more interstellar in nature. So again, we would tell you about what is known as ARC ships. There are many of these particular ARC ships or carriers that are specifically placed in certain areas of your star system. More so out of reach, much more in, shall we say, an incognito alignment, so that they are not being detected in any shape, way, or form that would interfere pertaining to what you are here to do on the earth. So therefore, as you fulfill everything that you are meant to fulfill through all that you have decided to come here on the planet to perform, once that duty is done and you have dropped the body, and therefore you are moving back into that stasis body, you are returning to another type of life in a way. It is in relationship to what you had here on Earth, but it was all part that Earth needed to be something that you needed to experience to help yourself grow, to help yourself mature, to help yourself expand. And now you may come out of that particular stasis pod, and now you're going to your own home planet. Or you may again perform other forms of services within this star system or other star systems or other worlds. It all depends. Everybody's different. But nonetheless, we would say that there are many whom we have talked to throughout our interactions with many of you who do have what you would term as stasis bodies. So, we know many of you get excited. Some of you may have this, some of you may not. But we have talked to quite a few who do indeed have these stasis bodies in question. All right? And it's all part of the idea of you just returning back to the seed. It's like a sprout. It's like a root that is coming from the seed and therefore incarnating here onto the earth. That root now starts to retract itself and return back into the seed body. The seed body representing in question the nature of the stasis body to which we refer to, that will fundamentally exist in a different type of dimension, a different type of modality, a different type of frequency or vibratory range. That is what we are referring to in that sense. It is not the idea of the third and fourth density in that sense, feeling that you are able to detect it through a state of hue. There are different color arrangements relating to a higher density, which means that there are greater color hues that are available in its spectrum. But because you're still operating within the third density, being able to perceive those particular different degrees of color hues would not be possible because you are aligned to this dimension. That is where your physical body is. It's aligned to function here. It is not aligned to function up here. It can't make the journey. It wouldn't be able to. The energetics are not right. That would lead to the destruction of a physical body because it is not operating and oscillating in the appropriate vibrational range it requires to thrive, to function appropriately. It needs to be dropped so that another body is prepared to represent, in that sense, a different stream of life. Just like you trying to take a fish out of the ocean and trying to hold it up in the air thinking that it's going to survive in the air, it won't. It will croak. Same thing with you. We try to scoop you out of this dimension thinking you're going to survive in a higher dimension. You'll be dead within seconds. Doesn't work that way. So again, yes, you're moving through appropriate shifts here and now upon the earth, but these are appropriate shifts that are expanding your own third density body principles, so that you're being a little bit more aware and a little bit more cognizant of higher dimensions. But the physical body cannot make that journey. Your mind is expanding to it. Your mind is being aware to these higher dimensions. And through being able to go into particular states where you're able to travel through these higher dimensions, that is certainly possible. And it is much more ripe for you to do so. But the physical body cannot make that journey. Why? Because it's not calibrated to that dimension. Just like a fish out of water is not completely calibrated to functioning within an air-based environment. It cannot be done. It will not survive. So please take into consideration what we are talking about here. You cannot take your physical body that resides within the third density to a fourth density or higher density. It's not possible. It will not work. Some may say that there are certain forms of technologies that can assist in the acceleration pertaining to that of atoms, and at some particular point in some way this can help to a certain degree, but it is very much like looking at a deep sea diver, seeing how long they can survive by going into the deeper trenches of the ocean without facing certain levels of narcosis. And so that would not be advised. Yes, there are certainly forms of technology where you can temporarily experience the fourth density through a third density body by working together with specific forms of apparatus or magnetic fields that assist in temporal phasing and acceleration of the molecular density of your cells, where you may temporarily experience a fourth density. But if you're staying there too long, again, we go back into the narcosis example here. And you will basically risk the ability of that body being destroyed if there for too long. But as far as we know, that technology is not publicly available upon your planet for you to temporarily experience the fourth density through a physical body. If you want to move more into the fourth density, learn about astral projection. Learn about lucid dreaming. That is the safer way to experience these planes. All right? We thank you very much. Okay, that was a lot of detail there for third and fourth density. Okay, so a lot of people asking those questions. So very good. Thank you, Janet, for your question. All right, I just had to see if there was another donation here. This one's from Eve. Eve says, thank you for your time and dedication. Okay, thank you, Eve, for that. And Starseed, I got a couple of them here. Okay, so there's another one here from Starseed. Starseed says, hi, Brad. Can you give insight regarding October 4th EAS? I don't know what you mean by EAS. Or estimation, I don't know. Giving insight regarding October 4th. Again, Starseed, I know you've donated. I really don't like to give information on dates. Okay, I mean, people have asked me that about September 23rd, right? About the idea of the equinox. Guys, it's happened for years with me. Is I have people that say, Brad, what's going to happen on this date? What's going to happen on this date? Guys, I can't tell you. I really can't tell you. Because so many people are under the idea of thinking that on that timestamp date, there had better be something that comes together on this date or I'll never believe in anything again. And they get disappointed. Okay? And I really cannot isolate anything in regards to a particular type of event that would happen upon that day. Okay? I've never been able to do that, and I won't be able to do that. Okay? So I really cannot give you an insight upon a date. Guys, dates do not corroborate the nature of events. Okay? Events can corroborate certain types of dates. Okay? When you look into the Akashic records, you're not looking at a calendar. Okay, what's going to happen on November 15th, 2024? The Akashic records won't even know what to tell you. It'll show you a calendar date, and that's about it. Okay? It does not govern the nature and the flow of time. Okay? This is why I say that everything pertaining to calendars and to dates and to hours, minutes, seconds, all that stuff, none of that dictates the nature of a marker pertaining to specific events. When you go into the Akashic records, you're able to look at an event because you're looking at the fruitfulness of the event itself. But you're not really getting a date of when that may happen. Some people may try to look around and see if they see a calendar or if they see something that could represent that. But even if you do see that, that still represents a fundamental state of change. Okay? This is why people who try to predict the future basically have an almost impossible job ahead of themselves. It is almost completely impossible to predict the future. Cannot be done. Really cannot. Because again, we try to look at the calendar. We try to look at a Gregorian calendar. We try to look at any other particular type of calendar that makes us think that we're going to be able to find something on that particular date. So when I look at October 4th, well, then I'm basically just looking at it through my eyes. Okay, I'm going to be in my new house, and I'm going to be doing some work on that day. Right? And it'll probably be a little bit cloudy outside. Well, there you go. That's the closest thing I can give. But in the sense of trying to understand a particular hallmark type of date upon that time, it just really can't be done, Starseed. Right? So we have to rethink about the idea of what many of us refer to as predictions. Okay? Predictions are looking at the event of something. Right? So when I'm looking at the event of something pertaining to a big bustling financial change, it is happening. Right? When I'm looking at an event pertaining to government shutdown, it is happening. Now, someone may say, well, Brad, is that happening October 4th? I don't know. From the feeling I get, maybe it's in a few months. Okay? And that's basically the closest inertia I can give you. But don't hang your hat on that. Okay? That can change as well, too. There's certain things I've shared about events in the past that still have not come together that I thought probably would, but haven't. Okay? Because again, guys, you have open windows and then you have closing windows. Open windows, closing windows. Right? And being able to try and look at a calendar date for when these events happen, it just doesn't work. Right, guys? I've been doing this work for 15 years and I've never been able to really hang my hat on a particular date. And when I have, I've always been wrong. Okay? If you ever see me in the past hanging on to a date, then I was wrong. Okay? If you ever hang on another person who's trying to say, oh, it's going to definitely happen on this date, no offense to that person, but they will be wrong and they will be disappointed. Okay? The best thing we can do is we can give a wide berth, right? We may look at a season. We may look at a year. Okay, it may come around approximately this time, but don't hang your hat on the date. Don't hang your hat on the season. Okay? There's a momentum of energy, but that momentum is always changing. It's like looking at a door that's shrinking and expanding. Shrinking, okay, it's time to go. Nope, wait, it shrunk. Okay, fine. It's expanding. Okay, here we go. All right, good. Oh, wait, it shrunk. That's exactly what the best analogy I can give pertaining to predictions are, right? They're looking at doors. In the moment that I'm giving it right now, okay, here's a big expansive door. The next day I give it, it shrinks again. You cannot control whether the window shrinks or expands, okay? Even goes back to like what Bashar says as well too. He would say there is no such thing as a prediction of the future. It is only a sensing of the energy that exists at the time the prediction is made. If nothing changes, that could come to pass. If something does change, it won't. And that is a very accurate expression about understanding predictions, guys. Which means I would suggest getting out of them altogether, right? We can look at the forecast about what events may be coming up. But as soon as you try to put a timestamp on something and you try to mention that publicly, you're probably going to get publicly shamed, right? And please don't do that. And this is what I'm learning not to do as well too, is try to put such a big timestamp on things, right? It just doesn't work. It sabotages you. You look bad in that way. You get disappointed as well too because you're so certain that it's going to happen on a certain date, and then it doesn't come around and you get disappointed, okay? So I'm not too sure if that's what you're referring to, Starseed 1111, but don't hang your hats on dates pertaining to events. It just doesn't work. Okay, it's the same thing I shared about a person who was asking about this upcoming equinox. Okay, don't hang your hats on dates. There's a lot of things that happens before, during, and after that time, and just look at the nature of a whole. Momentum possibilities, yes, but exact dates just isn't going to pan out too well. All right. Okay, this one here is from Carlos Aguilera. Adronis, what is your view on the alien mummies in Mexico? Are these real? If they are, who are they? Okay. First, before we do that, I'd like to look at the tarot for that, because I have looked into the internet. The internet is blowing up about these tiny alien mummies in these little cases in Mexico, right? And I'm going to look at the tarot first. And then after the tarot, maybe I'll bring Adronis in and he can look into it. But I'd like to see if I can get a good tarot perspective on these. So I would say that the alien mummies that are going around the internet right now that are from Mexico, are these indeed real, legitimate extraterrestrial mummies? Okay. So let's take a look and see what the cards say first. Because I've seen that all over the internet today, last couple of days actually. So let's take a look. Okay, so the feeling I'm getting here is that this is something that has been brought into attention. Okay, this is something that is there. It feels like there's just an agenda here that is not too promising, not too good, right? So the feeling is that these could be genuine beings in that sense, but I don't think it's going to be what people think that is. Okay, so these are genuine bodies here, but it may not represent what people believe it to be. It goes back into the hype of the Atacama humanoid, right? Where they had that little 6-inch figure and they were doing a lot of medical tests, laboratory tests on that, and a lot of it turns out that it was actually much more human than anything else. So this just feels like another rendition of the Atacama humanoid again, okay? So to me it feels more like the idea that there's a build-up to this, there is a genuine body involved, but it may not be what people believe it to be. Okay, and that's kind of like the summary I'm also feeling with Adronis right now. It may not be what you believe it to be. And that's all we can really do to comment on it. Because we basically have to kind of let the event play itself out as it needs to. Okay, it feels like this may also have an agenda behind it as well too. Okay, feels like there's kind of an agenda behind this, and it feels like it may try to fuel something that may not be too beneficial for people. Okay, so it's kind of a mixed bag, right? It's kind of like how we had that UFO hearing, and a lot of people are talking about that, and then they're trying to use it as a weaponization thing. To me, it just feels like there is something more to it that's not being told, and it's not what we believe it to be. Okay, and that's all that really can be shared about that. A lot of other things in that sense are kind of being blocked and say we really can't tell you too much about this. This needs to play itself out for the nature of its own experience. but it is not what you believe it to be. Okay? And that's basically what can be shared about it. All right, thank you for your question, Carlos. Batchmeg, thank you for your donation. Guys, just please remember that you're putting your text along with your donation. Otherwise, I gotta go fishing for your comment here. Okay. Okay, so this one here is from Sean Reichak. Sean says, "Hi, Brad. I grew up with several family members being involved with the Jehovah's Witnesses. I have no affiliation with that whatsoever. Could you enlighten us on the true nature of Jehovah?" Well, guys, you do know that I was born as a Jehovah's Witness, right? That I was raised into that religion since birth, and I hated every minute of it, right? And as a teenager, then I decided to leave it all behind. But I was basically being dragged to the Kingdom Hall every single week to go there and couldn't stand it, okay? The true nature of Jehovah is you, all right? When you're looking at the name Jehovah in that sense, it's one of the names of God, one of the many names of God. We're looking at Yahweh, we're looking at Jehovah, Yad-He, Vav-He, etc. There's a lot of different names of God, but all of these different names really pertain to you. They pertain to your majesty. They are vibrational mantras that are helping you to connect back to your God source. That's why there are many faces of God. That's why there are many names of God, right? Yad-He, Vav-He, Yahweh, Jehovah, etc. These are all different names of God. And that they would go, a lot of the ancient priests and ancient mages would go into solitude and they would start chanting these in mantra so that they would be able to connect much more back into their God's source, because it represents a particular type of vibrational wavelength, all right? Now let's prove right now how effective the Jehovah name is, okay? What I'm going to do is I'm going to start vibrating that name of Jehovah, okay? And I may even do it with a couple other ones as well too. The first one I'm going to do even before Jehovah is I'm going to give you the primordial name to all, which represents the vibration of Om, okay? That has always stood out. So as I'm holding the 16-disc pendulum here, which I've already talked about at the beginning of the broadcast, relates to a particular universal pendulum that has been designed by Dr. Abraham Karim, the founder of biogeometry, which is specifically designed to detect where there is the source vibration, right? The center vibration to every living thing. And that this exists not only through form, this exists through sound. This exists through words. This exists through design. This exists through color. This exists through proportions. This exists through mathematics, okay? So there's many different factors pertaining to that altogether. Let's look at the name Jehovah, which I'm going to get into shortly. But first, before we do that, I'm going to show you the vibration and the power of Om, okay? Okay, so we saw how the pendulum was moving in a clockwise direction. When this pendulum moves in a clockwise direction, it is picking up the charge of that particular source center vibration, that unified vibration that comes in. In this context, the intention was towards the sound of Om, okay? Let's take a look at the name of Jehovah, okay? So basically being able to vibrate that, like Jehovah, like that. Let's see what happens. Jehovah. Okay, we see how it is picking up the source center vibration. Let's vibrate the term Yahweh, okay, because that is another name for God. Okay, ready? Yahweh. Okay, so again we see a response. Now, let's vibrate the word God, G-O-D, and let's see what happens. Ready? God does nothing. This is why the God name really doesn't matter. Okay? A lot of people will talk about God, and some, of course, there's many times where I'll speak with God because it's universal in understanding. But it's not really a harmonic word, right? It's a flat word representing God, G-O-D. Okay? I'll do it a second time for you. Okay? So all I'm doing here is I'm not putting any thought into the pendulum whatsoever, okay? And I'm just moving it back and forth, and this is what we refer to as search mode, okay? And that's all I'm doing. If it moves, it is moving on its own volition to move, okay? So let's go back and vibrate the word of God, okay? God. Nothing. Okay? So why is this important? Why am I telling you guys this? Because these are sacred words. This is why these words were so defended back in the day. Because they represent the center vibrational harmonic to them. Even the word in the vibration of Om was very, very sacred back in the day. And that if you were not really initiated, you shouldn't be saying that. Okay? If you were basically trying to use the word Jehovah or Yahweh or Yad-He-Vav-He or all of these other particular words of God, that could lead to a stoning. All right? Because it was only for the initiates to mutter that. It was only for the initiates and the masters to being able to accumulate the power of those names of God to connect with their own God's source. It was really only for a master to do this gesture. Do you guys know what this is? Okay? This is commonly found in many different forms of old Renaissance paintings, particularly with Jesus. Right? You had many different masters performing this particular gesture. The one who knows. Okay? But let me show you something. Because I'm going to show you exactly the power of that gesture. This again is what I'm going to be teaching the students in the academy. Okay, so I'm just doing that gesture. Look what happens to the pendulum by doing this. What is that telling you? Okay, that is a harmonic gesture that aligns to the unified source vibration. Okay, so there are a lot of secrets. So like I said, chanting Om will get you that alignment. Working with the one who knows vibration. I just refer to this as the source vibration gesture. Right? I'm sure there's some other names for it. But being able just to do this. Okay? Your thumb is resting right against the index finger, and the index finger is right against the middle finger, and these fingers are down. Okay? One who knows. Okay? The source vibration gesture. And it only works on the right hand. Okay? So I'm going to switch hands here. I'm not too much right-handed, but I can still get the pendulum to work appropriately. If I put it in the right hand, okay? So just going, now I'm going to do it with the left hand, watch. You're not getting the same reaction, okay? Because it doesn't work in the left hand. You have to do it through the right hand, okay? That source vibration gesture will only work when it's in the right hand, okay? Which means that this gesture is much more feminine than it is masculine. Okay? Because basically when we're working together with the right side, we're looking at that which projects. Or sure, let me go back. It's actually much more masculine in that way than feminine. Feminine in that sense is what is receiving. Masculine is what is projecting. So it is much more masculine in that particular type of aspect, right? One who knows. You can even see it in that sense of almost like a knife cutting. So going back into correction, much more of a masculine gesture than anything else. Feminine gesture would be much more of the receptiveness. Okay? So again, if I'm doing this in the right hand, look, right? We see how that is spinning now. That is the unified source vibration. So when you're talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, you're basically talking about a cult. Because they do not teach you about the many names of God. They do not teach you about the many faces of God. The Jehovah's Witness religion is really just an offshoot of Christianity, but a very highly distorted one in that way. They would always call themselves the truth when in fact they are not. And they basically look much more into extremes towards paganism. They would basically have much more of a vengeful mentality pertaining to any particular types of pagan rituals that would come together, which means through the Jehovah's Witnesses' faith, you cannot celebrate birthdays, you cannot celebrate Halloween, you cannot celebrate New Year's, you cannot celebrate Christmas. You cannot celebrate anything that they would consider to be pagan in nature. They were much more extreme to that. I never had birthdays, right? Up until I was about maybe 17 to 18 years old, I never had a birthday, right? I never celebrated Christmas. I never celebrated Halloween. I never celebrated any particular type of national holiday in that way. Not that it really matters, but That again is part of the Jehovah's Witnesses faith, or the cult, I should say. Okay, so looking in that, the true nature of Jehovah. Well, here's the thing with Jehovah's Witnesses: it was actually invented by a Freemason. Okay, so basically, you had a Freemason who was the innovator behind the entire Jehovah's Witnesses movement. Okay, and why did he do it? He basically just wanted money, right? He basically came from a very wealthy family. And he said, well, the best way to get a profit is to create your own religion. Oh, okay, I'll go ahead and I'll create the Jehovah's Witnesses. Right? It was mainly brought in because he had a lot of the knowledge of the Freemasons, but he would utilize that as a platform for revenue, which means Jehovah's Witness is nothing more than a money corporation. Okay? That's really what it comes down to in that way. We're also starting to see quite a few Jehovah's Witnesses being exposed as child sex traffickers. Right? Sex offenders as well too. A lot of them are in the JW faith. Okay? So it is not at all what it's cracked up to be. And like I said, I was involved with that cult through the day I was born, right? And I never ever liked it. I never liked the energy of it, but I could never really put it into words. I could never articulate it as a kid. But I never liked the energy. I never liked the mentality. I never liked the social atmosphere of it. It was nothing but garbage, right? And that was my viewpoint on it. And I thought it was the stupidest thing ever. And that's exactly when I was old enough and I started to get more mature, I walked away from it. I said, I want nothing to do with this because this is not how I see God. This is not how I see the true nature of things, right? And so completely walked away with that, and I felt that way with all religions. Nowadays, I'm completely at peace with all of that stuff. But back then, that's exactly how I was saying. I thought this is garbage, this was stupid, this is ridiculous, this is just a cult. There's nothing redeemable about it whatsoever, but brainwashing people into idiocy. And that was exactly how I felt about it, right? But nowadays, yeah, it's fine. It's religion. Again, if you have to go through religion to get to know yourself, you're not going to get there, right? The true religion is through within yourself. It is through your own temple. It is through your own church. Everything that represents an externalization of the church is a complement and expression to what resides within yourself, right? That's the key. So Sean, thank you for bringing that up. Right, appreciate it. Okay, guys, we're going to take one more question and we're going to wrap up. Okay, so we're almost out of time here. Okay, let's go down the list here a bit more. So I'm just going to probably scroll right down closer to the bottom. I'm just checking if there's any other donations. Like I said, I got some donations, but I didn't really get a comment or question through that donation. I got one here from Batchmeg. But I don't believe I got a question from Batchmeg. So Batchmeg, thank you for your donation. But, oh, okay, there you go. I see it now here. Batchmeg says, hi, Brad. I have a question about Pope coming to Mongolia. Country is totally Buddhist only. 1,400 Catholics and CNN journalists came before. What is going on there? So why don't we take a look at the cards pertaining to that. Okay. It can often represent the start of an agenda with such a country. With working with the Pope there in that sense, it may represent the idea of attempting to bring about a type of rulership or a particular time of policy, or again a new agenda that's trying to forge itself there. Okay, whenever you're noticing these things completely out of their element, right, you notice that there's an agenda brewing. Okay, so it's the prelude to a big political, religious agenda. Okay, so anyways, we'll look into the cards for that. But according to the cards, it's actually probably a good thing. So, well, sort of. In front of the outcome of it looks pretty good, but behind the scenes looks kind of tragic. So this is basically the outcome of the situation, right? So there's a unity, there's something that's bridging the gap here, but it's going to come through something that's going to be unpleasant, okay? So something good is going to come out of this, but something unpleasant needs to happen first. And like I said, this may relate to the nature of an agenda. I feel like this is going to lead to a type of exposure, okay? It's going to lead to a justice call. Something needs to stir up in Malaysia with the Pope being there, right? That is going to stir up a justice that has been brewing, that has been sitting idle for a while. And this is exactly how life works, right? Whenever we have something that has been sitting idly by for quite some time, there will be a prelude to some particular type of event where something will feel very out of sorts. That is going to lead into something really, really good, but before it leads into something really good, something tragic needs to happen, okay? And that's kind of the feeling I'm getting with Malaysia here. It feels like this is going to lead into some type of tragic event pertaining to, like I said, an agenda. Maybe something relating to a new political narrative or a religious narrative in that way. Basically trying to enforce something that the people of Mongolia do not want. To stir the pot, to basically clean out the debris. And this is basically what you do in healing as well too. I basically have to get a person to focus on a traumatic event in their life. And they don't like to do that. It's unpleasant. It's not good in any way that we have to focus on this trauma, but we have to focus on it in order for it to heal. Okay, this is the exact same thing if you're looking at Malaysia as a person or as an entity. Okay, we have to bring something in regards to an attention of something that has been sitting for quite some time, and we need to stir it up, right? And there needs to be some type of tragedy that will take place so that it helps the body's immune system to now say, okay, we got a virus in here, let's get things going. We're building up the immune system of this country. We're building up the immune system of this planet, of this entity altogether. And if we're looking at that tragedy stirring, looking at it on a healing arrangement, now we can start focusing our intention to soften it, to lighten it, and to let it go. So an action is being brought forward so that there is a convergence taking place, something that relates to a healing. And this represents a very prominent action, something that's been sitting idle for quite some time, that's ready to launch, something that's ready to brew, something that is ready to stir itself up, okay? So there's going to be the nature of self-authority coming together, and this is going to lead into a new step towards liberation for Malaysia, okay? So when you're seeing the Pope coming to Mongolia, where the country is totally Buddhist, and there's only about 1,400 Catholics, and CNN journalists are coming in that sense, you are looking at a prelude to a false flag event, okay? And that is meant to happen to stir up Mongolia, to basically raise the dead pertaining to a lot of these issues that have been kept in the back of corners, so that they can be brought forward into the center, so that people can look at it and say, we don't like this at all, let's take care of it. It's a boost to the country's immune system. It's a boost to the country's intention to get well again. It's helping to dig out that old virus to which the Pope, to which a lot of these particular forms of journalists are coming in, to come in and stir the pot and basically take out that old parasite that has been in the body of Mongolia for a very long time, to basically bring it out into the open so that people can see all the horribleness that it is and vanquish it. That's exactly what's going to be happening here for Mongolia, okay? So, Bechmeg, you are on the precipice of a false flag event that's about to happen in Mongolia. Okay, it is going to lead to some tragedy. Okay, unfortunately, this is how it has to happen. And through that tragedy, there's going to be justice. There's going to want to be a big shift that needs to happen to take everything that represents that tragedy, bring it out into the open, and dissolve it entirely. I don't know how long that's going to take. Okay, that could take some time. But this is basically why these things are happening. It is the prelude to a very large false flag event that is about to happen. Okay, so the best thing to do is just be aware of this, educate people about it. That's how you can help. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this episode of the Signposts Live. I had a great session with all of you today. I hope you enjoyed it as well, too. I'll be back tomorrow with New Earth TV Live, starting at 10 a.m. Pacific Time, 1 p.m. Eastern. So again, feel free to tune in. And a reminder, again, we have the promo code here, Fall25. Get 25% off of your order on Etherics. Again, we got the new Organite necklace here. It is valid to the end of the day, September 17th. That is the 25% off. And website is etherics.co. So again, guys, thank you for joining me. And I'll talk to you all tomorrow. Much love to you all. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Namaskar. And may it be well with you. Take care. Thank you so much for tuning in to New Earth Teachings on YouTube. Don't forget to check out our websites, newearthteachings.com, where you can do private sessions with me, and also etherics.co. And through Etherics, you'll be able to pick up your Healing Code Cards body deck, your mind deck, and your energy deck through Etherics. You will also be able to pick up the Etherbed kit. That is also on Etherics as well. Not to mention that you'll also be able to pick up some apparel and accessories that is also available on Etherics. Thank you so much for tuning into this video, and I look forward to speaking to you in the next one. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Namaskar, and may it be well with you.